Greetings and welcome to a fucking disaster that I call the Pixel Crashers podcast. This is the podcast where we randomly run around and I try to do all the troubleshooting literally on the moment of everything getting started. We also talk about tech stuff. Kev also has all his lights turned off, so his green screen looks really horrible. But anyway, welcome to.
All my lights turned off. I have all my lights turned off.
I've got fancy effects.
Yeah.
It's a laser.
In any case, welcome to the Pixel Crashers podcast. We talk about our thoughts on gaming news and stuff. I am Angelus de Mortiel, joined by KevN7 and Xaiphen, as always. Except whenever Kev's trying to be a console scrub, and then we forget to include him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's me with all my lights.
Forget.
I'm just gonna green screen Kev out of his own game.
I'm actually considering it because I got all these shadows out here. I need to get some more lights in here.
That's what I was telling you, man. You just gotta get that Pro 3.
Yeah, but it's gotten even worse since we did the podcast last.
That's true. I don't know what you did. You done messed it up.
How dare you?
Some way. How can I blame this on Comcast? I don't even have Comcast. How do I blame it on Comcast?
You can still blame it on Comcast.
I'm so just to give everybody fair warning that is watching the stream. Currently, the uploads are flickering between the normal 3 megabit upload rate and occasionally popping down to 1 or lower. So if things turn into a slideshow, yeah, I wish I could say that I broke it because I would have fixed it already.
Oh,
yeah, that was a shot across the bow of Comcast, who has no financial incentive to fix any of their shit because there is no competition here. There is no other broadband ISP in this area. So, anyway, moving on to fun stuff. Kev, so you beat the Spider-Mans.
About a Spider-Man.
You beat the Spider-Mans?
I beat the Spider-Man, and I'm playing Rise of the Tomb Raider as we speak.
Gotcha.
Well, not during the podcast, of course. About 6 hours into Rise of the Tomb Raider. I also started Monster Hunter.
I do have to ask. I have to ask with Rise of...
Like I have the most massive unibrow right now.
yeah, what the
It's just my
shadow of the glasses, man.
Yeah, it makes me look like I have the most massive unibrow ever.
So for those of you,
Shadow of Mordor, if you didn't realize.
So if you guys, so if you guys didn't, for those of you listening to the podcast and not watching the live stream on there, Kev, of course, has a wonderful lighting situation that he's trying to set up for his green screen that he likes to use because it's this cool thing. Well, the problem is the lighting shines across his glasses and creates this wonderful unibrow kind of shadow across his face. It also makes him look like he's like some kind of evil. He's like,
yeah, I was gonna say you need to angle the lights differently so you have shadow horns.
Yeah, that's it exactly. So
that's the right way to do it.
So Kev, so of course we had your first thoughts on Spider-Man after beating it. Now, what can you say about it?
One of the best games I've played in this year. One of the best games I've played in a long time, actually, as far as the superhero action beat 'em up. I had a blast with it. I'm hoping to make a sequel. Insomniac knocked it out the park.
So, what can you say that was what was the highlight for you of the overall experience?
So, have you guys played the Batman Arkham games?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of the same feeling where it feels amazing to be Batman. It feels amazing to be Spider-Man in here. It feels amazing to swing through the city. When they got, and I'm trying to keep it spoiler free as I can. The boss fights when you get like all of Spider-Man's main, well, most of them in there. Like they didn't have like Mysterio. They didn't have him in there. Actually, I think that's the only one that they didn't have the Green Goblin or Hobgoblin in there. It was basically the ones that you saw if you saw the video that Sony put out at E3.
What was the what was it called? The Sinister Six.
Yeah. Well, see, I never read the Spider-Man comics, oddly enough. As much as I talk about comic books all these years,
that's a joke I'm about to make. As much as Kev,
so,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Talks about how the
I was an
superiority
X-Men
of
kid.
comics.
I was very big in X-Men. I read like a couple issues of Spider-Man, but I never followed the Spider-Man comics. I understand the origin story, and that's where it ends. But great game, great combat. It's fun webbing up people. You even have that same attack where Batman would take his grapple and pull people up from the ground and then tie them up. You can web people up like that. It's almost like the Batman Arkham combat. I think Xaiphen said this last time. It was better suited towards Spider-Man
That's what I was
because of
saying.
the Spidey sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it played a lot. Like you can see, they took a lot of inspiration from the Batman Arkham games, and they made it fit for Spider-Man. The one thing that I like that they did in the Arkham games that they didn't do here is Batman would block. Here, all of it was Spider-Man dodging. I like you could take your webs and like take people's guns away. They could shoot missiles at you. You can get an ability where you would grab the missile with your webs and then throw it back at people.
Kev's going to be the new arch nemesis. He's going to be one of the new bosses in the next Spider-Man game that comes out.
No.
We've confirmed it here.
No, actually, he's gonna be
They're gonna make Kingpin black again.
No. It's actually in the Pixel Crashers video game that is not being developed or made in any sort of fashion. Kev is confirmed to be the antagonist. What the
No, we were going to get Telltale to do it for us, but
yeah, everybody saw what happened yesterday.
We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it.
They're one of my favorite studios. They're one of my top 5 studios, or were.
Actually, let's officially.
Anyway.
Yeah, let's officially just actually go ahead and get this out here. So for anybody who's not aware, obviously it's been probably pretty much all over the news everywhere. Yesterday, well, actually over the past couple of days, first there came an announcement that Telltale Games was like shutting down, and then it came out that they're not shutting down, they're just firing 90% of their workforce. And they're keeping for the time being. Essentially, what they're doing is they're firing 250 employees. They're keeping 25 of them on so they can finish the next thing of the Walking Dead season finale, and then after that, those 25 will also go because they essentially went bankrupt. So
that's what we thought.
Yeah, but then that didn't even happen.
Some people just have talents.
Well, no, then I guess they're not even finishing the season finale. That's also been canceled. So pretty much everything's fuck.
They're gonna do a Minecraft game or Minecraft movie of some sort, some Minecraft project for Netflix. Now, I've played all of the Telltale games since The Walking Dead. I even went back and played some of Back to the Future in Jurassic Park. So I have a big history with Telltale. I am severely disappointed. I love this studio. This is one of my favorite studios outside of old BioWare, Naughty Dog, CD Projekt Red. I put Telltale up with all those guys as far as how much I love their games. So I'm disappointed. I was crazy hyped. The way people are hyped about Red Dead Redemption right now, I was that way about season 4 of The Walking Dead. So this for me was a major, like I walked in the door from work yesterday. I had a shitty day at work yesterday. Was so glad it's the weekend. First thing I see, Telltale shut down. Fuck. I put out a tweet, like, hey, you know what? It's sad to see you guys go, but thank you for the great games that you gave me. I'm glad you guys are going to finish off Walking Dead. And I love the guy, Jack Move Johnny, but he broke my heart when he tells me they're canceling Walking Dead too. Shout out to Jack Move. I love the guy, but he broke my heart right there. So they canceled The Walking Dead. They're going to put out episode 2 on Tuesday, and then they're not going back to it. So it'll probably end on a cliffhanger because the way these Telltale games go, they introduce everything in the first episode and kind of set you up for the synopsis. And then when you go into episode 2, that's when the story really starts. And episode 2 always ends on a really bad cliffhanger. And it's intended for that because you go to episode 3, where that's where you usually hit like the big climax, and everything finishes in 4 and 5. Since they're only doing 4 episodes for this one, or we're going to, it's going to climax at 3 and then go back down to 4. That's how all the Telltale games work. So we're going to probably just end on a cliffhanger. And we're not going to know what happens at the end. And I was very interested to know what happens to Clementine. So
I can tell you what happens. They all fucking die. Yep, they all die.
Fucker.
Just they all die.
I also wanted to see The Wolf Among Us season 2. And I think that's the big heartbreaker for a lot of people too, because people have been begging for that. And they were getting Minecraft story mode and Batman and Tales from the Borderlands and Game of Thrones and all these other games that people weren't asking for. The one game that they were asked for, they got confirmation that it's coming, and now we close the studio.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I guess what it is, and then digging into it a bit more, this is gonna kind of, I guess, break into your guys' thoughts a bit more. So from what I understand, I guess there's a lot of controversies apparently around the Telltale studio in general. But there was a part of it, I guess, was the fact that when they put out The Walking Dead season 1, that was like brand new thing, no one had ever saw it before, and holy shit, they couldn't keep it on the shelves. It was selling so well. But then I guess from there it's been a steady decline of sales. That they haven't
apparently. Go ahead.
Yeah, they've just been steadily. They've not really been increasing sales from one game to the next, but their studio has been growing. So they've been increasing their costs while not, and they're making games. If you notice, aside from Wolf Among Us, a lot of their other shit is licensed property. So Walking Dead,
Wolf
Tales.
is licensed too.
Is it? Is Wolf?
Yeah, it's another comic book.
Oh, okay, okay. So yeah, everything they make is licensed then, because they also do the Game of Thrones and yeah. So that's expensive. For those of you who don't know, making licensed IP games like based off of a popular product or comic book or movie or whatever, that has extra costs attached to it. You have to pay to license that IP.
And it costs even more when you do something like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep, because they did that one, yeah.
Game of Thrones.
Something like that has a continuing.
From what I heard too, that Game of Thrones was like their biggest flop.
Yep.
Actually, I heard Game of Thrones and Tales from Borderlands were like just massive flops. And I think that that's when you really saw the end. Minecraft story mode that wasn't for their audience.
No.
Their audience didn't care about Minecraft. They cared
Things
about
like that. Like part of the costs, which I think that system is a little bit stupid, is they've got twofold costs. They got front end costs to purchase licensing rights to start making it to begin with. Then they also have back end costs based on sales after that. When it comes to things like that, there should only be back end costs. That way, if it's a flop, they're not out quite as much.
It depends on the licensing
that was
deal.
the problem with their business model.
Yeah, but it does depend on their license. There's some license only front end or only back end, but most of the time when it's a big IP like that, a very popular IP, they get hit in the front end and the back end.
Oh yeah, oh, there's some innuendos in there.
Yeah, I know what I did there.
Yeah.
DP for the win. Well, not for their win.
Yeah, but no. So the thing is that I guess why I want to ask for you guys is, do you think there would have been, aside from not making licensed content instead of making like unique stories, which I think that was kind of part of the weakness of the studio, is they weren't necessarily good at making or making their
they had good writers but not good creators, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like they were.
I don't even know if it's safe to say that they had, or like that was a weak point, because they never actually tried to make their own IPs.
Exactly. And do you think that, well, aside from making their own IPs, do you think there's another way that they could have I guess pulled in more money off of their products? That
loot boxes. Oh shit!
Thing was they need their own IPs.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. Yeah, they should do loot boxes. Xaiphen's right. They should. Yeah.
Loot box!
As long as it's labeled as licensed gambling, I mean, they obviously need something to help them along, and they're missing out on the rest of the industry at this point in time.
They don't need any of that. They just put loot boxes in there.
Well, like
in the game where it don't even
I say loot boxes, more satirically, but like a system like Warframe's got in place, that's making them good fucking money. They'll make up for a little bit of back end costs that they're losing out on, especially on something that has a continuing maintenance on it.
Well, with Warframe, they were actually like on the verge of bankruptcy before they launched Warframe. Warframe was their Hail Mary.
Oh yeah.
That was their last ditch effort.
Yeah, but it was that fucking successful, and it more or less does not. There is some random chance effects in there that can be tied to real world money, but they definitely do not have loot boxes,
Yes,
and
they
it's
do.
not as overt as what?
Yeah, they do. They have
Where?
loot boxes. They have mod packs, and they have some other another random. They have a mod pack, and then they have some other. Oh, the Fusion Core packs. I think obviously they took those out. They used to have Fusion Core loot boxes and mod loot boxes, but they're kind of hidden.
They have
I
the
want more
mod
loot
pack
boxes.
left, and that's it. Yeah, pack. They had skins for one of the pets, the animals, the Kubro. They had skins for that, but they noticed it was, like somebody was treating it like gambling, like horrible addiction wise, and they nixed that one real quick. The fusion pack ones, they nixed those. I don't remember when. It wasn't quite as big of a story because it wasn't
No. The
obvious
fusion
that people were having problems with
the Fusion Core loot box that they used to have, they got rid of because they got rid of Fusion Cores.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
important part is more loot box.
No.
Yeah, but the one that's left, the remaining one is the mod packs that actually have a near direct tie to money. There is a random roll for the Riven mods. If you don't like the stats on it, you can reset it and rebuild it again and see how it turns out for you. But that one, you can't buy the Riven mods. There's as far as I know, there's no direct way to buy Rivens.
Mm-hmm. Well, my thing is that
and that's a slow process to re-roll those too, so it doesn't have that instant gratification effect that usually gambling triggers on.
The thing is that when it comes to games kind of getting released in this day and age, and you want to release kind of more piecemeal-ish games, the funny thing about it is that from what I understand, EA wants to go to a more Telltale style of product in the future, where you have that kind of more episodic, frequent release product.
Why not? I could sell you 5 episodes for $30 and make more money
each.
Oh no, $30 each, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that EA wanted to do something like that. That sounds right up their alley.
That's the
Plus,
new
they can
DLC.
also throw loot boxes in on top of that.
Oh, absolutely.
I heard you want loot boxes for your loot box to go with your loot box, bro.
Yeah, let's get it. Let's get more loot boxes. I think EA should just skip the pretense of having the rest of the game and just start releasing their games where you have FIFA Ultimate Team is just the whole game. There's no other like actually playing the game. There's no soccer game in there. It saves a lot of development time when you don't actually have to make
box simulator.
Yeah, it's just a loot box. It's all just loot boxes and different themes to them. So you're either getting.
I think we should stop talking and do it ourselves. That's a great idea.
Yeah, because we could probably we could get money off that shit. We actually charge real money for that. Yeah, I think that's yeah. So that's our new money making scheme. Anybody who's a developer, you don't really need a lot of experience because there's not a lot of hard work involved. Definitely let us know.
Shove your money in this.
We won't pay you right.
Oh yeah, no, don't worry. We'll be just like EA.
And on Christmas.
Yeah, we'll underpay you and overwork the fuck out of you until you burn out and
absolute dog shit.
Yep.
You're welcome.
We got to be just like EA because see that right there. That's called showing you respect by overworking you and underpaying you. That's EA respects its employees.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just to show you we love you, we're gonna make you work Christmas too.
Yeah.
So when your kids say, "Daddy, why are you at work?" Because I gotta get money. Threatening to fire me.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah. So in any case, though, so as a hindsight on there, I played I did play Wolf Among Us long time ago, and I played Walking Dead Season 1. But I never really got into the other games. So I would say and we'll break up the Walking Dead guys into seasons so that they're not broke up there. And I don't know, Xaiphen, did you ever play any Telltale games?
No, unfortunately I haven't. I intended try out Batman. I think I don't even know if that one might be in my catalog. You know how bad I am with my backlog on games. Like, oh look, I've got these games I need to play. Warframe, launch.
Facts.
that is actually
I've got 5 minutes to play some kind of game. Launch Warframe, run a mission, shut it down, go move on with my life.
That is actually, by the way, what Xaiphen does. You look at him; he's got so many games, and he plays Warframe, and that's
All
it.
the time.
I every once in a while I get on the other. Sometimes recently I've been spending more time on not gaming with running. I'm going through a lot of Steam controller layout builds right now.
That's been
You know,
Xaiphen's new game.
I
When he's
picked up
not playing
on I picked
Warframe,
up
he's
activity
gaming.
on my Twitter account. What I'm going to be doing henceforth is, as I'm going to start publicly posting on my Twitter the links to my Steam controller layouts for the games that I have, and some of the ones that I had old versions of that I've updated. I'm going to post the old and the new along with that. Like the first one that's going to be up is going to be Star Trek Online that I've been working on a rebuild, like complete rebuild. That one's my most popular one, publicly posted in the community. There's like 3,000 people using that one, but it is outdated. So I'm looking on a full rebuild on that, and I've been working on it, but it's a bit of a slow process with only having a few minutes at a time to work on it.
Disregard that. I was trying to be all slick and put in Xaiphen's Twitter in there, but I realized with the internet going down here, my chat bot also went down. So,
Oh, fun.
Come on, bot.
And my chat's been down too, so
Come on, bot.
I'm about to check down the chat because I think Comcast might just be having issues.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, we'll post up Xaiphen's stuff in there eventually.
I'm noticed I have a natural talent for completing competent, comprehensive, semi-intuitive Steam controller layouts for games that are designed to use the entire fucking keyboard, like Star Trek Online, Star Wars: The Old Republic, Mech Warrior Online, games like that that are really need a full use of a full keyboard setup. I've gotten pretty good at making that work pretty damn well on the Steam controller. So I'm going to share the love on that one.
I think a lot of people would prefer that, Well, choking on stuff. Here, let's try that. How's that? Boom. There it is.
Telltale games, though.
There we go.
So as we close out the story, though, about Telltale, we'll just give a final salute. Telltale. Cheers, guys. They'll find jobs at a better place that knows how to manage its money better, like EA.
Actually, what's funny is the industry is apparently like really offering all of them jobs. Like they had this whole hashtag thing going on Twitter.
Oh, I have no doubt.
Anybody who needs a Telltale,
they need to get picked up by CD Projekt Red.
Yeah.
Get in on a good company right there.
Good developer. I agree.
They won't. Well, here's the thing: is there is still rumors circulating that while CD Projekt Red is very pro-consumer, and I applaud them for that, there is rumors, unconfirmed rumors, that they might not be the best place to work. So I can't confirm or deny that. That is entirely a rumor. We'll see.
And that's not that wouldn't be the first industry to do issues with that too.
I mean,
they're set up very fairly pro-consumer. I mean, there's drawbacks, of course, but like that, Bezos in charge of Amazon, he reads emails sent directly from customers to him. He actually cares a little bit about that, but the people that work for him are in shit conditions, at least at the low level.
Yeah, low levels, because I've worked in Amazon HQ, and they seem to be sitting pretty lovely in HQ.
Of course, yeah. They're super rich. But in any case, as a super smooth, it's a super smooth segue. Let's have a little bit of fun. So can you guys go ahead and teach me how to put thermal paste on my
oh no.
So that horse has been beaten.
And it will continue to be beaten.
No, it is not. We cannot beat this horse enough.
So to kind of fill in the joke here. To fill in the joke on here, The Verge posted up a video this past week, how to build a gaming PC.
This is embarrassing from
Morgan's been
like
salivating
somebody
on
who
it.
has no experience whatsoever, amateur, random, like crappy YouTube vid, and it's from a tech site that makes it 100 times worse.
No, my favorite one was the response from Blunty. Please, somebody at NVIDIA, do not let this moron anywhere near the RTX 2080 and 2080 Ti reviews.
He's the guy
So
that.
I think my favorite
By
was,
the way, Kev, he was the guy that reviewed the 2080 and 2080 Ti for The Verge. Just thought you should know. Yeah.
Kev, really.
That makes Blunty's tweet even better.
Mhm.
Tonight on the Pistol Crashers podcast, Kev embarrasses himself. But here's like the thing is like, I lost my train of thought. Shit, damn it.
Yeah, because Kev doesn't hold
Oh,
on.
my favorite comment on there was, it was either, I don't know, remember if it was Ray Charles. Like, Ray Charles could do a better job, and he's blind and dead.
I saw that one. That was great. I still want to know how
that as bad as that was still my favorite one. It's just like, oh damn, he went. That's how bad this video is.
the tweet, or not the tweet, the meme with the cement truck.
Yeah, no, that was
Yeah,
that was great. So essentially, just to outline exactly what the issues were with this video.
Down.
Yeah, so he was putting in stuff really wrong, and he was giving people really bad advice. He was instructing them how to put thermal paste on the CPU, and the joke of the cement truck over the dumping into the computer. The joke on there was that he just literally dumped like probably a quarter of the damn tube of thermal paste on there. And then
or one of my favorite ones. Which slot does your graphics card go in? Oh, it just goes in whichever one you like. Whichever one's the most convenient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he said that
all have different speeds or anything.
And then he also put the RAM. He put the RAM in 2 slots by each other. Which, if you're building a PC, by the way, you for dual channel RAM, it's alternating. So if you're just putting in 2 sticks of RAM, you're putting them in slot number 1 and slot number 3, not 1 and 2.
I want to put a quick addendum on that one. Read the manual. There are a few motherboards out there. Slot 1 and 2 are channels A and B, and then slot 3 and 4 are channels A and B. Rarely, very rarely, but you always read the manual on where your RAM channels are. Because some of them are slot 1 and 3 for A and B. Some of them are slot 2 and 4 for A and B. Most commonly, it's 1 and 3. If you're only using half of your RAM slots.
Yeah, and that's
read the manual.
That sounds, you're echoing a lot of my stream on how to build a gaming PC, where
yes, read the Go RAM manual.
Every 30 seconds it was, by the way, and there was times during that stream when I actually busted out the manual to read the manual, which they wouldn't have done in this video because it's The Verge and they care more about making it look glitzy rather than actually being accurate.
I mean, you could have even edited where he's reading the manual out.
Mm-hmm. There, one that got me, and this was a Gigabyte motherboard. And Gigabyte's usually not bad, like as far as manuals go. I think, or maybe it was ASRock. I can't remember. It was one of those two. It was one of the cheaper, higher quality companies. It wasn't like BioStar or Foxconn or some trash like that. It was Gigabyte or ASRock, which, they're on the cheaper end, but they're on the cheaper end of higher quality. And there was a picture, like the power pins for your power switch, LEDs, and all that stuff. There was a picture of where to put things, and then there was the list, the wording on there. I usually go by the wording because usually that's more accurate. Usually they match up. This one did not. I went by the printed words on there. That was not right. The picture was what was right. Like usually when it comes to tech manuals, the pictures are only like general area, like, oh, it kind of is somewhere around the worded description to give you more fine-tuned, accuracy on that. And like, no, it was the other way around on shit.
Yep. Well, and the thing is, though, is that overall, what happened shortly after the video was posted, though, The Verge turned off voting and turned off the comments for the video.
Clearly
That's
getting that work.
that is your immediate sign. Whenever you see a video that has the voting and the comments turned off, that is a video where someone has been spewing some bullshit. They're getting called on their bullshit, and their response, instead of saying, "Hey, maybe we should take a look at this," their response is to instead say, "Hey, yeah, let's just shut down anybody's criticism." So the
Yeah,
criticism
exactly.
that
We don't listen to criticism. It's shut the fuck up.
yeah, it's like nobody can ever be wrong, to the point where the person, who I won't name their name because I feel like that's counterproductive, was on Twitter, damage controlling the fuck out of how he knows how to build a PC. He's done a few builds before. It was because they wouldn't let him reshoot that was the problem. And I'm like, listen, bro, I've built a few PCs now, just a few. Actually, at this point, probably somewhere around a dozen or more at this point built PCs. Even my first PC, I was not that damn bad. Like,
Stop it.
yeah.
Stop it, Stefan. No damage control.
Yeah, it's like if it were me in that situation where I were put in this situation, Kevin and I had a kind of a back and forth about this where he was like, "Yeah, not everybody's you," and I acknowledge that.
Oh,
So,
I was talking about walking out.
oh, I know that's what I'm getting to. Had someone wanted me to compromise what I felt would be my journalistic integrity. Keep in mind, The Verge is a quote unquote news media site, so technically the guy who made this video was supposedly some sort of journalist or something. I don't actually know what his title is there, but
we don't know. We never will.
Still employed.
I don't really consider them to be journalists.
Laid off, and this jackass still has a job.
No, but if it would have been encroaching upon my integrity as a journalist that much, I would have said, no, you guys find someone else to do this. And in which case, yes, that may have at some point jeopardized my job. But I think any other legitimate newspaper that values people with integrity, if you tell them, yes, The Verge fired me because I refused to let them let them use me to put out a very deceptive and inaccurate PC build video. Kev, your audio is still low. Turn up your mic.
Wow, you're getting called out in the chat.
Yeah, I've been telling him about that, by the way.
He did. He said something, and I was sitting back and relaxing, away from my mic. Now, does this sound better to you guys?
Yeah, that sounds a lot better.
Yeah,
so,
I think it's just when I get too far away from my mic. I'm actually moving my monitor to get it out of the way of the arm at the moment. So
yeah. But in any case, obviously not everybody has the capabilities of just walking out on a job or potentially getting fired. That's not everybody can do that. But
exactly,
in lieu of
that's
that,
what I was trying to get across.
In lieu of that, he could have. He didn't need the damage control. He could have gone out there and said, "You know what? Yeah, guys, this is a bad video. I acknowledge that. Let me see if I will try to rectify it if I can. Obviously, I don't have control over it, but let me try to rectify it." He would have still gotten shit.
Okay with him, like it's management's fault.
Yeah, well, the thing is that no, because that's essentially what he did. They wouldn't let me reshoot. No, the thing is that had he just copped to the fact that
beforehand,
I don't know, but had he copped to the fact that it was a bad video and said, "Let me try to do something about it," no guarantees because I can't control necessarily what they want to do. People will still give him shit. Like, people are going to give you shit no matter what. It's the internet. Hell, I can just be sitting there petting. I think I've said this before. I can be sitting there petting a puppy, doing the most non-offensive thing possible, and people are going to give me shit on the internet. That is the nature of it.
Yeah.
Anonymity plus free reign, that people are going to just let their vitriol flow. But the thing is that he would have gotten a lot less shit. However, anyway, moving on with the story.
But he could have. I don't know. Maybe to me, the way they defend that, he could have set up his own video and put it on like Facebook on his own time. Put it like on Facebook or on YouTube on his own channel or something. Did a quick live stream on Twitch. Show like, hey, I know how to build a PC.
Here's the thing. Depends on what the social media policy of The Verge is. Some of them,
Well, obviously, blaming them on Twitter is okay.
yeah, I don't know. But in any case, though, The Verge has now taken down that video after multiple people said, hey, this is really bad advice. This could lead to people potentially damaging their hardware that they spend thousands of dollars on. Please take this down. Finally, The Verge said, this doesn't meet editorial guidelines, blah, blah, we're moving it down. Of course, the comment that I made earlier in the week was that the Verge and most of these internet media sites like The Verge, I don't really think they have an editorial process. They pretty much value the speed of delivery of content, not really the quality, honesty, or accuracy of the content. It's just fire it out there and get it out.
I think that's honestly just work in general. And this is like, especially when you're delivering something to customers, you got to be the fastest and just get it out there.
Yeah.
Is it necessarily going to be the best content? Maybe. As long as we're out there first, who cares?
Yep.
And then save face whenever possible. It's like accuracy and integrity, and that's actually why I like smaller, like YouTubers, especially guys that that they run their own company and they run their own shit. Hey, Choice Tomlinson, how you doing? Because that's all integrity. Like if Jay's 2 Cents, for example, put out a bad water cooling video, something that he's known for doing, these custom loops, he's done.
Yeah.
If he starts putting out a bunch of inaccuracies.
Yeah, if he pulls out some bullshit, that's it. Because that to me is how a person in the media industry, that's you gotta, all you have is your reputation, right?
Right, exactly.
If your reputation is for lying,
Linus is gone.
yeah. Unfortunately, I don't necessarily think Linus puts out inaccurate information. He generally is pretty accurate. I personally just find his voice to be annoying. I know.
I just like Linus.
I
like the whole Linus media group. I think they make.
No, and the thing is like I said, he doesn't put out anything bad, and a lot of the stuff he does is good. I've watched a lot of his videos. Like I said, it's just his voice grates on me a little bit, and it's completely superficial. I acknowledge that it is superficial, and it's a silly thing, but yeah, that's the unfortunate part of it. Is we all have our preferences. However, like I said, they did take down the video, and my thought is, my question to you guys, and this is where I want to bring this to, is while a lot of the internet media sites out there, they need to have content out fast. That's the nature of the internet. That's the reason why print media is kind of dying, right? Is because information travels so much faster digitally. So my question to you guys is, how would you institute some kind of editorial oversight and like review process while trying to maintain as fast of information delivery as possible?
I want to interject before we move on to that, because I don't think that this particular video needed the speed. It's a PC building video.
That is a fair point.
How many people were editing this video for The Verge? How many eyes saw it before it hit YouTube? Like, I'm reading and seeing like 10 to 15 people saw this video, and everybody gave it the green light.
Yeah,
that's why The Verge is on my shit list now. I'm putting them there with VentureBeat. I'm putting them there with Polygon. Like, I'm putting them there with everybody at Futaku who isn't Jason Schreier. Like, that's just where I'm at with The Verge now, because you had over a dozen people look at this article or look at this video, and nobody said, "Wait, hold the brakes. He's fucked up."
Yeah,
there should be, when it comes to any kind of journalism, whether it's like, hey, we've got some time to kill, we're trying to get some viewers, let's do something that a lot of people know but might enlighten some people, but more or less pull views for us, get us some extra money while we're waiting on another story, like the case of this PC build. The thing is you have footage editors, which would be print equivalent of a grammatical editor. You also need a content editor. If the content editor does not have sufficient subject matter experience, they should have on tap, whether they're paid or just a friend, whatever, subject matter expert that they can pull in as an advisor to say, hey, can you check this real quick and say this is fucked or it's good enough information to put out? Somebody that they can contact with a quickness that, they can give them a 1-day turnaround on an answer, or something like that, or they have them on staff, like a part-time on staff in his advisor position that they can pull him and say, hey, can you come in tomorrow and take a look at this shit before we publish it?
Yeah. Real quick, Toys, just to give you reiterate what we're talking about. The Verge put out a video over the past week about how to build a gaming PC. There was an absolute disaster of a train wreck with a bunch of bad advice on how to do everything wrong. They've since taken it down after a huge wave of internet backlash.
And they called all the people that disagree with them trolls.
Yeah, and of course, naturally, like I noticed with every time someone wants to do something and essentially hey, we've taken this down because this doesn't meet our editorial guidelines, or instead of apologizing for it, their immediate response is, hey, I've taken this action, but I also want to kind of distract you away from this action that I've taken, or the reasoning behind the action that I've taken, by talking about how people are being harassed.
Mm-hmm.
And this
that's the way of the world though too now.
Yeah.
Like when you do something and it doesn't matter how good or how bad it was, they're very fast to take strong, severe, and rash actions against it.
Yep.
And it doesn't really matter necessarily what it is, what you did. We're just going to quickly and immediately react. And we're going to do that in a way that's going to probably take away from what you've already been doing.
I the way I put it is the internet is a place built upon hyperbole. Everything's exaggerated, everything's extreme. But my point is,
I don't think that even has to be on the internet. I think people do that in real life.
Yeah.
Like you can make a minor infraction on at your job, and they will try to destroy your work history.
Well, my thing is that I think that a lot of that sources back to the internet, and that's internet bleeding into real life. And the reason why I say that is because when you look at the nature of the internet, especially like your Facebooks, Twitters, that sort of thing, people share snippets online that they want to show to people. And that's either, for example, on Facebook, I've made the judgments of, you either see one of two people on Facebook. You either see all of the rich, successful, happy people who are taking vacations and driving expensive cars all the time. Or you have the people that are perpetually depressed, sad. They want to end their life, blah blah blah. That sort of thing. By the way, I say blah blah blah, but suicide is not a joke. If you feel suicidal, get help. But my point is that you either see one of those two extremes, right? Even though a person's life is not either all one or all the other. It's a smorgasbord of like gray areas in between. But I think that nature of sharing only this certain aspect of yourself has led to the internet seeming like it's hyperbolic, right? Where you only have you either love this thing or hate this thing. There is no, I'm average on it.
That makes a lot of sense. That sounds like me and video game platforms where I'm like, give me a good game. Where then you got people like, no, you have to be Xbox, PlayStation, or PC. You can't just like one.
No, there's no liking one. It's the same thing happened with.
There's no liking them all. You have to like one.
Oh, that's what I mean. It's the same thing that I ran into with Mass Effect Andromeda. I was like, game's above average, and people were like, you're a hater. I'm like, no, I didn't hate the game. I thought that it was above. It was okay, but for comparative to the rest of the Mass Effect series, it was significantly worse. And here are the detailed reasons why.
I don't even think it was significantly worse. I think the gameplay and combat were a lot better. But I think where we lacked is the storytelling, the characters, the environment.
What is the Mass Effect series known for?
It's known for storytelling.
Exactly.
And characters. Storytelling and characters.
Yeah.
Right. And it's known for that because it's always, at the exception, I think of, the first one had terrible combat, and 2 and 3 had decent combat. But I thought the combat in Andromeda was actually really good. I thought they finally got that right.
Well, the thing is though, is that really was, if for a Mass Effect game, a story, and we won't tarry on this subject too long, but for a Mass Effect game, a game that is known for storytelling and its characters, to sacrifice said storytelling and characters in order to make the combat better, I personally see that as being a really poor choice. But that's
I don't disagree that was a poor choice. I don't think because I like to have my cake and eat it too.
mm-hmm.
I want to have the good combat. Can I have like combat from Andromeda, but then have like the story from Mass Effect 2?
Yeah. Which, I mean, even the story. I'm not going to go into that.
What you want to about the story of Mass Effect 2? The Mass Effect 2 is still my favorite.
The actual Mass Effect 2 story is god awful. However,
I like the story in 2.
However, the side characters that fill in that story turn it from being a rather bland and generic story to actually being the best, one of the best games ever made. So it's weird how that happened.
So when you say story, now I just want to make sure
that's the thing is characters can make.
Because to me, the characters that you got for the suicide mission are the story of the game. The game is about them. It's about the world. It's about getting used to the Mass Effect universe. It's not so much like the collector thing to me is a side story. It's just pushing the
you're mistaking two terms: story versus storytelling. The story of Mass Effect, the collectors are taking everybody. We've got to find out what they're doing. Oh, they're keeping him in the base. Oh, the antagonist is, Harbinger possessed collector number 645. Oh my gosh, he's so threatening. Oh, there's a giant human reaper. What? Huh?
Yeah, the human reaper makes no fucking.
Yeah, no. So the thing is that is the story.
Tackle this in Mass Effect 3. Why didn't that never come back up?
Yeah, that is the story. The storytelling, however, which is where the side characters came in to fill out the universe, that is where it's fucking phenomenal. And it's kind of similar ways, and I know you guys aren't huge anime fans and don't watch as much as I do, but there's currently an anime running called Overlord that is actually generally, I think it's a great anime, not because like it doesn't really seem to have generally a plot to it. It's kind of interesting. It doesn't have a direct plot, but it's all just pure storytelling goodness. It has so many great characters filling it out that they spend time to develop and make them actually more than one-dimensional tropes, which is pretty typical of a lot of animes. They actually make them complex characters, and then you kind of start to see, wow, this is literally a story built up of character storytelling, and that's why I kind of think it's interesting. But we'll not tarry on that one too long because we do have other things to talk about on here. Apparently,
We do.
Yes, we actually do. Believe it or not, I know that Kev is really excited. I know one of the things that he's been really looking forward to is that he wants to talk about the RTX cards again. We talked about it a couple podcasts ago, but we were talking about it, just the announcement of it. Recently, the actual benchmarks came out for the RTX graphics cards, and now I saw some strange variations from one reviewer to the next, which I thought was a little weird. Maybe they like the review kits they received were in varying quality, which is not a good sign. No. However, there were they seemed only like I guess it's pretty much as I expected it, where essentially the RTX 2080 is pretty much a slight step up from the 1080 Ti, and the 2080 Ti would be supposed to be a step up from whatever the Titan was, but there is no real Titan marker with the 10 series generation because the 1080 Ti was better. Whatever. Point is that there's a key piece in here that's different though with the RTX generation, and that's the fact that all the prices for the cards seem to be a nominal degree higher than the 10 series and previous. So now the 2080 is going to be
performance.
Well, essentially for the nominal increase of performance that we've seen from previous generations. So if you look at like the 780, the 980, the 1080, right, going up on there. Yes, there's no 880 because NVIDIA is retarded. Whatever. Point is that there's that the 780 to 980 to 1080. There is that each one is kind of its own tier grade above the previous generation, but the launch price points of each one have been the same. They were all that $600 to $700 price point, we'll call it.
You knew what you were getting.
Yeah.
You knew you spent about $200-300 for like a 60-70 series card.
Yeah.
You knew that.
Yeah, and you spent usually around $600 to $700 for the 80 series, top of the line. That's the quote unquote flagship model. Even though there's been higher grade models than those, that was the flagship. That's the mainline enthusiast grade card that they're going to sell the most. Unfortunately, with this series, the MSRP, which by the way, real life sales always end up higher than the MSRP, was $800, and each card above and below that have been nominally marked up in price. And I know Kev was wanting to talk about that because he has some thoughts on that. So Kev,
I wanted to get the entire group's thoughts on the price to performance and just I feel like NVIDIA's, they know they have no competition, and they are truly taking advantage of it.
I want to, if I may, I want to get a little on here because on the surface, and the majority of users of the graphics cards out here, is the price for performance increase is not worth the generational jump that we've had previously. It's not worth it. However, that is looking at the more common graphics processing that we're used to, the shader core count, all the other hardware features that we're used to. The bump in performance in that, especially with the increase in price, is not what we've come to expect, what we've gotten with previous generational improvements. However, there is 2 extra features on these new cards that I think this is why NVIDIA is warranting the increase in price. And it's not, yes, so there's the lack of competition. There's them trying to make up for the mining sales, blah, 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 a whole bunch of other crap. But, I think as far as like hardware goes, there's extra features in these cards that a lot of people are not going to make use of, at least not right away, and maybe not for a while. One of them is, I can't remember, it's a AI-based anti-aliasing, if I remember right. Right?
Yes.
That has actual dedicated hardware for that feature. It is not off of the main graphics processing. And then there's also an additional hardware feature for the real-time ray tracing, which, yes, you can enable that on the older generations, and they take a hard hit on performance. Yeah, and space heaters. I've got one sitting at my feet right now. But that's the thing, is like they're trying to play the devil's advocate on there. As far as the price increase, I think they're trying to charge for those extra features. But here's the situation they're running into: is the Xbox One with the mandatory Kinect.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and what's interesting here is like the cards, the 2080, the 2080 Ti, they do what gamers wanted them to do: 4K ultra settings, 60 FPS. They do that. But I'm not saying on every game. I'm saying that right now they're consistently doing it. Will they be doing it in 2 years? Let's wait and see. I doubt it. But the problem is that they tried to sell it on ray tracing, which nobody gives a flying fuck about ray tracing right now. They're trying to sell this DLSS technology. I'm not even sure what the hell the DLSS is.
Like I said, it's an AI anti-aliasing.
The AI.
Yeah, and it's using the AI got some hardware to run that function instead of tapping into the normal the normal processing features that like that normally runs AA. It's got dedicated hardware for the AI based AA. It's the tensor cores that were used in the Volta Titan, the Titan V, that was never really for consumer use. It was for hobbyist AI developers. The $3,000 Titan. It's making use of that technology for that.
Teslas are not just for hobbyists.
Well, I mean, like, as opposed to being a Tesla or the Tesla cards, right?
Yeah.
The Tesla or the Quadro cards, instead of making use of those, they actually ran it as sold it as a GeForce card. Although as far as gaming capability, it was better than a Tesla or a Quadro, but it was inferior on game performance processing to a 1080 Ti, as far as I remember. I could be wrong on that.
Right. The point I was
making, it was heavy in tensor cores. It added that new feature and that hardware feature.
The point I was making was that that a lot of people who were interested in that card were looking for 4K 60 at ultra setting. Does this card do it? Sometimes. A lot of the time, yes. However, not for $1,200, no.
Can we just replace
Morty with a mug?
Here,
really?
Yes,
that's the thing, Kev, is like, so they're trying to create new standards to sell the price increase. They're trying to sell the AI based anti-aliasing, and there we go. Mort's replaced with a mug. But they're trying to sell it off of new standards, not the higher resolutions at better frame rates, instead of just going with we're pushing more raw power into it. I don't have a mug, sorry guys. You gotta look at this shit right here. I'm sorry for all of your eyes. But they're trying to sell it on new standards. They're sell the price increase instead of just the usual performance bumps from generation to generation.
Yeah, well, my thing is that so first of all, a couple of issues that I have. First of all, the cards do not reliably do 4K 60, which to me is, I feel like that the 980 was supposed to be like the first kind of like, that was supposed to be the first 4K card, and it didn't do 4K very well, and everybody was like, you know what? No, the 1080, this is going to be a huge bump in performance. The 1080 will do 4K 60. Does 4K? Nope. Not always a 60. And now we're at the 2080, and the 2080, it does, in a lot of games, can handle 4K 60 or above. But even that's having issues, and that's more powerful than the 1080 Ti.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I think part of it is too, like let's not bash NVIDIA completely here. A lot of this just have to do with game engines and stuff too. Like, I got my 4K monitor back when God of War came out, so back in April, March. And I've been playing a lot of games at 4K, but there's just some games like they just can't handle it. Like Shadow of the Tomb Raider. One, I can play it at 4K 30, but that's partly because the game just is difficult to run at 60 no matter what resolution I play it at. I think that has
PUBG?
to do with my i5.
Wait, what?
I think it has to do with my i5, because I'm noticing, like, I've been looking at benchmarks around the internet, and a lot of games that I see, or a lot of people I see running i5s running that game, are hovering in the 40s and 50s, which is what I've been doing. It's like I can hit 60 if I take down a lot of settings, put it down to 1080p, but it's not going to stay there.
Is that a DX11 or DX?
Which will stay there. DX12, which is games actually optimized better for
DX12.
Yeah,
that's probably where it's hurting you there.
The game actually runs better in DX12.
Or wait, no, DX12 is never mind. But more threads helps out DX12, even though it's supposed to have less CPU overhead. That's just because it distributes the threading a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And what I'm saying is, I think it's just a lot of these games are, they become more and more demanding as time goes on.
You should have waited for Ryzen. That's your problem.
I know, right? I was going. You know what? We remember. I was waiting for Ryzen, and my motherboard took a shit on me. and so I had to go local. That's why I got the
100%.
7600K. I wanted a 77 if I was gonna go Intel again, but I needed a PC right then because Andromeda was coming, and I wasn't gonna.
Let's put it this way:
there's
you have that buyer's remorse when you have a 7700K, and the 8700K is a hex core instead of a quad core.
Oh, I had that buyer's remorse when they decided to change socket types 3 months later.
Yeah, but no. In any case, I guess my next question on there is: do you think that there is an issue with the fact is that they're essentially selling these cards with hardware for well, I guess it's a tough balance here, right? They're selling cards that have proprietary hardware pieces on there that aren't even used in any games yet.
I think Nvidia is trying to innovate.
No.
Well, I think they're trying to innovate in the game space with rendering technology.
I think they are trying to further secure a monopoly. Because it's kind of like G-Sync, right? If they could essentially convince game developers to start really making use of ray tracing and these hardware AI pieces or hardware AA pieces, they could effectively, unless AMD similarly put such hardware on their cards, then games would not run as good unless it had that. Like, yeah, I mean, it's not far akin to things AMD or Nvidia has done in the past with like their Hairworks or other technologies like that. So
right,
Yeah.
you didn't let me finish.
Oh, okay.
I think they're trying to innovate for the purpose of creating that monopoly. That's what I was trying to
What-
get at.
Like,
Like if
that,
you,
that's a,
like if you can make something that's so innovative and so amazing that everybody just wants it, so then developers have to put it in their games. It's like, well, AMD doesn't have this technology; it's proprietary. They don't have anything equivalent to this, and you just wipe Nvidia off of the graphics card market. Now I can charge you for a GTX 2050, and I can put a $400 price tag on that because nobody here is gonna stop me. I'm in the market by myself.
I'm gonna say right here is like it's not. Yeah, the you know further secure marketplace dominance because they saw what AMD was nothing CPU processing other than to fanatics for a long time versus Intel. Intel dominated their market for a while and they got complacent and fucking yes, Ryzen is not the be all end all. But AMD seemed to come out of nowhere with fucking Ryzen, and there is a lot, and Ryzen is still making quite a bit of an upheaval against Intel. And it started off with the consumer market, but now it's starting to hit the business market, and data centers, servers, things like that at this
Red
point.
Ripper, yeah.
Not quite. Obviously, Intel still holds a dominance in there, but it is definitely giving way to the market share is giving way to AMD at this point, and I think NVIDIA is trying to secure against that. They are not going to. They're trying to keep themselves from becoming complacent against AMD throwing a wild card comeback.
Yeah, since Nvidia has the majority market share of computers out there, it behooves game makers who are making games for PC to utilize Nvidia's API kits that they have, and to run better with that. So that it's
at the end of the day, it's about money.
yeah,
It's always
it
been
is.
about money.
Yes.
Whoever has the biggest share, whoever's making the most money, well, you're our priority. I mean, and it's like that, I think, in everywhere in the gaming space. You look at consoles. Well, PS4 has the market share, so we're going to base most of our games around the base PS4. We'll make sure that it works on Xbox. We'll put some bells and whistles on there for the Pro and the X, but we're really not going to go that much further than we did with the base console. Like literally, for the most part, when you go like a game from the PS4 to the PS4 Pro, you might get a mode where they'll unlock the frame rate. They'll say, "Hey, let's push this to 4K as close as we can," and walk away. They're not really doing much more than that.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I guess my major issue on there is I could understand having a EU PS4 oh, but I guess the major problem that I run into is that if you're going to have iterative releases maintained in the same price brackets, I'm fine with. If you want to innovate and attempt to kind of lock out AMD in order to form a monopoly, I mean I would let let a company try to do that and hope it doesn't succeed, because obviously I want competition in the graphics card space, and I don't see any other company like actually competing. There is no other competition out there. I think Intel said they might come out with a GPU.
Intel's almost
2020
coming out next year.
supposedly. That's a
Oh,
while off.
2020 or
When
2019? I know 2019.
2020,
Okay.
2019 is supposed to be AMD's Navi.
Yeah.
Or either
That-
later this year or next year. Well, we know how
Is-
AMD is
is
with
Navi a
delays, so
GPU or
they're going to
CPU?
be GPU.
Mhm.
Okay. I'll check for Navi. I'm
Ryzen
sitting on my
2,
1080.
yeah, Ryzen 2 is supposed to be out. I
Isn't it
think
already out?
later this year.
It's already out.
No,
I thought.
Um, brief
I like it a few
Ryzen
months ago.
refresh. I mean full Ryzen 2, not Ryzen refresh. Refresh is out.
Okay.
Full Ryzen
Okay.
2 is supposed to be out, I think, later this year or more than likely next year. We know how AMD is with their delays.
Mhm.
And then their GPU, Navi GPU, I think, is again slotted for late this year or more than likely next year. And then Intel, they said flat out 2020 is their target goal. They're not trying to rush their ship, because they've
Good.
been out of they've been out of a gaming GPU market forever.
Yeah, pretty
They
much.
they had a goal with the Knights Corner or whatever, what eventually became the Xeon 5 processor. They intended to make a consumer grade GPU, and they're like, yeah, we're just not gonna hold a candle to what's out there right now. Let's change this up and go a different direction with it. And they turned it into a more or less like an AI type processor, very dedicated,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
very dedicated.
My question is do you think Nvidia is going to continue to try to drive up the prices, like the 21 generation or the 3000 generation, whichever they go with? Do you think they're going to?
think if AMD doesn't do anything about this, they will. This is Nvidia just walking around with their dicks out. Let's be real. Like Vega was
As
a
long as they can get
bomb.
away with it.
Vega struggled to compete with the high end. Well, I believe the what was it, the 60? I forget the number, the 56, and I forget what the
The
other
top end Vega was toe to toe with the 1080.
and
Yeah.
the
With the
next one
1080.
goes toe to
Then
toe
you
with
have
the
two
1070.
cards, well, technically one card of Nvidia's that and Nvidia or AMD doesn't have an answer for.
Right, the 1080 Ti. So that puts the perception in people's minds, because I hate this argument. Well, who's better, AMD or Nvidia? AMD typically has a competitive card. It's just a matter of they don't have anything to match whatever the 80 Ti card is.
Yeah, they don't.
So people
No,
have the
they.
perception, well, Nvidia's better, and then they just go by Nvidia for whatever grade it is.
Yeah.
And for example, at the low end and a lot of the mid range, Nvidia isn't better.
Yeah.
And
No.
sometimes they're worse, especially at the low end. AMD destroys Nvidia at the low end. But when I say the low end, I'm talking about like, say, like a 570 versus a 1050 or 1050.
Yeah.
Well, 570 is versus Ti. 580 is versus 60. What?
Maybe it's the 560 I'm thinking of then.
The 560 versus 1050, and that's a close toe to toe there. When you start getting in the mid range, better. Low range, it's a little, it's a matter of who has the better price at the time.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Mid-range.
I don't even see that for like the mid range. Like if I were to look at a 580 or a 1060, it's whoever's price better.
Yeah. Well,
both cards are great.
And the thing is, here's the thing: is that AMD is competitive at that low and the mid range mark.
And that's what most people are anyway.
Yeah. However, you gotta look at the media of it. Your brand is always only as good as the prestige it holds, right? And you're not getting prestige off of the.
They don't. And that's why I was talking about the AMD doesn't have anything to compete with. Say, for example,
timing is also a big factor too.
Well, yeah,
timing is a big factor. If Vega could have came out when the AMD 400 series came out, then they would have had a chance. But they came out after the 1080 was well seated.
They don't really have a good flagship though. That's my major thing. Right. They need, like, when the Fury cards came out, that was kind of like, yeah, okay, we got a flagship card out here. And it was right around the time whenever the 970 debacle happened, like, And that helped them
Yeah.
get a boost up. The Fury is still a damn good card, all things
Yeah, it's
considered.
still a damn good card, and it was on par with a 980.
Yeah, exactly. That was a flagship. AMD really needs a flagship. Like, I'm saying this as a
they
person.
have a
That's the
flagship.
thing that I'm saying. Like, they have
They
the
have
flagship.
an
The problem
expensively
is
marketed
that then
flagship.
NVIDIA goes and say, hey, well, here's our flagship Ti. Hell, they wouldn't even let them take on the 1070. They put out a 1070 Ti, which there was, and just basically destroyed the 1070.
Yeah,
Just because they wanted to make sure that AMD didn't have anything. They wanted
exactly.
AMD. That's the thing is AMD does have the Vega is a flagship. It is, but here's the thing. Now looking at direct comparisons, looking at current pricing. You have the 1080 is frequently sitting under $600 at this point in time.
I'm seeing people on YouTube talk about they're finding
Vega,
like 300 on
the
eBay.
Vega 64, the bigger of the Vegas, the Vega 64 is sitting between $650 and $700 still, so it's almost $100 more. And again, depending on what games you play, performance-wise, they're neck and neck. Energy efficiency, Vega takes a little bit of a hit on that, depending on your overclocking. If you underclock, actually Vega is more efficient. But again, looking at stock clocks, NVIDIA's more power efficient and cheaper, so it's saving you money in two different ways, unless you're G-Sync, and then that's a maybe. Mm-hmm. But like as far as performance goes, they're trade-off depending on the game. If you have a game that heavily favors NVIDIA, then absolutely they take the cake. If they favor AMD on the other hand, then AMD takes or Vega takes it. If it's not favoring really any in particular, NVIDIA usually has a little bit of lead on that just because their base clocks run a little bit higher.
Yeah, it's not as clear as the quality difference between
the Fury versus the 980. Absolutely, it's not as clear at that as all.
Yeah, my thing is that the Vega really, like, whenever people are talking about it, I rarely hear anybody
bad launch.
I rarely hear anybody talk about the Vega. I hear people talk about the 580.
Yeah,
because the 580, they hyped that card up so big, and it's a good card. It's a damn good card, and I think for AMD, they're well known in like I said, the mid range. Nobody thinks about them as a flagship for some reason.
Yep.
Even when you said it, they don't have a flagship card, but the Vega 64 is a flagship card.
How old is the Vega 64?
The Vega 64 finally released, I think, last November. No,
so it's not even a year old.
Well, if you count Founders Edition, yes. The overpriced Founders Edition, yes. It's been out for over a year. When you look at the hard to fucking get a hold of, so it's overpriced on launch, and then aftermarket pricing you were seeing those going for $2,000 or better, just because of mining shortages, Founders Edition shortages, so on and so forth. When you looked at more massive production, once it went to AIBs, it was hitting into late last year, early this year.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That's where. And the thing is by the time the Founders Edition, the 1080 had been out for at least 6 months, if not longer.
Mm-hmm. By the time they released, I think it had been out for like 6 months.
Well, that's the same thing. That's the same thing. Yeah, the same thing that. My point is though is that it's not even a year old, I guess. But I guess when I look at it, it's nobody really talks about the Vega 64. So like I didn't even think about that as being the flagship in their model, and that says a lot.
It's on par with the 1080.
Yeah, it's on par with the 1080.
The thing is,
and no one
it was
ever
talked about a lot, and there was so many launch delays, and then people started losing interest as they started picking up the already available 1080. That's what happened. Their launch fucking hurt them horribly because they were running so far behind because they were still trying to push that HBM2 instead of scrapping the idea and going with the GDDR5X or other things like that. They ran into so many memory supply issues that it just pushed back, and people are like, you know what? I'm sick of waiting. I already waited for Ryzen for 10 years. I don't want to wait for Vega.
Right.
But that's okay.
Exactly.
But now
the point. I wish Vega would have done better. It's not a bad card series from what I'm seeing.
No, it's market wise, it's not doing great. Performance wise, it's actually I'm pretty happy with it. And yes, I'm running Vega.
Now, do you have the 64 or the
Yeah, I've got the best of the best, which is the Asus Strix.
Well, of course, Asus
I've
is the best.
yeah,
I
I've
can say
got
that.
more or
I can
less.
say that from
I've got the direct AMD competition to what you're sitting on. You've got Asus Strix Nvidia or 1080. I've got Asus Strix Vega 64.
But does yours have fancy lights on it that you have a glass
It's
case?
Asus Strix. Yes, I have fancy lights. You can't see them.
Yeah,
I
because
can't
yours
see them
is
unless I take that side panel off.
yeah,
I've got the most beautifully hidden PC setup.
RGBs.
yeah, good stuff. All right, so let's
You and your hidden RGBs.
yeah. So let's go ahead and start to wrap things up on here. We'll kind of go through our shillings and stuff like that on there. So start off on there. Xaiphen. Throw us a bit more shilling on here.
Twitter. Start paying attention to my Twitter. My videos are going to be on delay
You're gonna have to
process for
repeat
me.
that because you cut out.
Oh, sorry. I want to try and get going with a Steam controller dedicated videos, but that is making videos is very difficult process for me. It's very, very time consuming. Time consuming stretched out because I only have so much time at one given period to work on it. So trying to scatter that up is very difficult. And, it's hard to pick back up where you left off without starting from an earlier point. So videos is going to be a lower priority. But as far as actually making the Steam controller layouts, I'm going to be posting those to Twitter. So, keep up with my Twitter. If you're a Steam controller player, the next one I'm leading off with is I'm going to be posting my link to my old Star Trek Online, and then following up a day later is going to be the my new Star Trek Online layout. And then I'm going to try and keep up with, at least a week at a time, old and new, if there's an old and new, games in my library. I'm starting with more complicated ones that don't have like controller support behind them. So that's going to be Star Trek Online, Star Wars, Old Republic, Mech Warrior Online, a lot of games like that. And then I'll start going to the more generic, games where I've just got little custom tweaks that makes the game feel better to me, but otherwise the game may have controller support already.
And just to wrap that up there, that's you can find him on Twitter at Obsidiosomnia. That's OBSIDEOSOMNIA. Obsidiosomnia.
Yes.
Kev, chilling.
Yes, show. You can find me on Twitch at KevN7 Gaming or on YouTube at KevN7. Find me on Twitter at iChargeBanshees. I'm gonna get back into streaming really soon. I've been crazy busy, so it's been really hard for me to be consistent with the streams or to get there on time. So I don't want to show up late every time or do it randomly. So I just haven't been doing it. So that's where I'm at as far as the streaming goes. But of course, you can catch me on Twitter. I'm going to be out here. I'm still going to be playing these games. Like I said, I beat Spider-Man. I'm in the middle of Shadow of the Tomb Raider right now, and I'm going to be streaming some Monster Hunter as well. I'll probably be streaming Monster Hunter and Tomb Raider throughout this week. I'm just waiting for some more of these games to come out. Really looking hard at Forza. Still waiting to make a final decision on whether I'm going to get Fallout 76 or not. Right now, it's not looking good for Fallout. So we'll wait and see. That's where I'm at. I'm just going to be here playing these games, streaming them, and interacting with the community.
Good stuff. All right, and obviously, as everybody's kind of getting familiar with the process now, obviously, we are streaming live here every Saturday night at 7 p.m. Pacific. That would be 10 p.m. Eastern time. For anybody who wants to watch, you can find us here on Twitter.com, or good to God, Twitch.tv /The Pixel Crashers, which you can catch our live streams here. I'll go ahead and put a link for that in the chat. Excuse me. But aside from that, you can also catch our podcast, our bi-weekly podcast that we're doing right now and closing up for right now. You can also find that on any of your favorite podcast services. We have that pretty much everywhere. I think it's literally on all of the services. You can find that anywhere that your podcast is. Just search The Pixel Crashers there, and you can check out the audio stream on there. Sounds pretty good. I like the sound of it. It sounds almost like we did this live though. There's a lot of like really verbal goof ups, like Kev sometimes forget what he's talking about and just like starts rambling on about console games, and it's I don't know. In any case,
Okay.
Greatness awaits.
yeah. In any case,
Phil Spencer.
yeah. In any case, on the off weekend, we do stream a party stream here where we get together and we just play some games and chill out and give each other a bunch of shit. And next week, we'll be doing that party stream with some Killing Floor 2. So we'll get to be killing some zombies with a bunch of creative, explosive stuff.
And the business of killing zombies.
Yep. And as far as the whenever we do those party streams, we actually do a dual perspective stream on there. Kev is streaming on his side from his perspective, and you can see how bad his aim is because he's used to using a console controller and stuff. Whereas over on my side, you can see the superiority of the PC controlling. I can't say with it.
Whenever I get that internet upgrade that my ISP has been promising us, I will start adding a third perspective where you can see me aim better with the controller, Kev, with the mouse.
Yeah, we actually saw that before with Rainbow Six Siege. That was great stuff. However,
oh shit, yeah.
You can also find me on Twitter at twitter.com/Mortiel, Mortiel, or at Mortiel on there. And you can also find me on if I can remember how to type. I'm typing and talking. Yeah. You can also find me on YouTube as well by going to youtube.com/Mortiel. I swear I can type. I'm typing and talking at the same time. Sometimes I'm good at it. Sometimes I'm not. Anyway, we're going to get signed off here for the night, guys. You all have fun. We will be back next week with some Killing Floor 2. That'll be good fun on here. And then hopefully everything explodes properly and we get the gore that we all anticipate when playing that game. So anyway, we'll get signed off here for the night, guys. You guys have a good one. We will be back next week, 7 p.m. Pacific. Have fun. Cheers, everybody. Good times.
Yay.
I tried to trick.
Random.
I tried to trick every.